Our mission in the IHMC Robot Lab is to develop robots that can work in conjunction with humans to make the world a better place. Atlas is a disaster response robot that has been designed and built by Boston Dynamics, and it is the cutting edge of humanoid robotics right now.
The purpose of Atlas is to save lives. It's to use in situations where we can't send humans. The devastation at Fukushima could have used a robot like Atlas to travel through and do structural inspections, to go down stairs that other robots weren't able to go down, to turn off valves that needed to be turned off, to function in ways that a human normally does. Robots now can't do that. They're very limited. Volunteer firefighter putting out a fire, they get hurt, they die. It's a pretty common thing. Fire is very hard to deal with. Oh, something like this is going to save a lot of people.
Working on Atlas is a 100% software endeavor. Effectively, we're developing the brains for the robot here. We use the entire Atlassian suite to allow us to collaborate effectively and also move really quickly without being afraid of breaking anything. As human beings in places where we're limited by our humanity, and we can be better and we want to be better, and technology is just advancing at such a rapid pace that we want to harness that.
EF designed software to teach the world new languages. I come to work every day to make that experience available for more people. It's a mind opener.
I'm much more confident than before. I'm brave. Like today, I can talk with you in English.
My daughter and 3 nieces live in California. When I speak with them, they can understand what I say. So I'm very glad.
EF's R&D center is called EF Labs, and it's a group of 230 people. The software element is absolutely key, and in that sense, our developers are our biggest asset.
Hi, Lindsay. Welcome back to class. The topic today is discussing fair trade.
I think that technology is at its best when it connects people. If you can't go to New York, we will use technology and bring New York to you.
Tesla's changing the world by offering an alternative to fossil fuel consumption and really proving that there's innovation in the US auto market. Tesla's software development team is at the convergence of our powertrain and infotainment hardware engineering teams. So our greatest technical challenge is building a product as complex as a vehicle with a cutting-edge powertrain and user interface and a development cycle as short as a smartphone. Atlassian products really help our teams manage and trace software change from conception through release. A high level of integration and customization really help us to implement our custom workflows and facilitate communication within our teams.
When Felix was born, he was screened in hospital. We were told that he was so deaf that hearing aids were unlikely to ever be able to help him. And so we had 2 major paths to choose from. And one was to go down the signing path and for him to remain unhearing, or to look at cochlear implants.
Cochlear has helped over 300,000 hearing-impaired people worldwide. Software plays a very important role in cochlear implantation. The clinicians need software in order to configure or tune the device for the recipient to be able to hear. We use Atlassian software to enable us to make connections between various engineering teams. It's used to connect us to the outside world and to our customers.
So we'll start at very soft levels and just keep beeping until we see a kind of reaction.
That was just the most amazing day. Having watched so closely for so long, looking for any hint of any recognition of sound, then to actually see on the day his little eyebrows pop up and his dummy stop sucking.
Felix, can you hear a voice? You can, can't you? Hey?
Felix is 4 now. His day-to-day life just feels so normal, and I think that's the huge difference for us.
Would you eat lettuce with your rabbit?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like lettuce.
Oh, good. Oh, you heard that. Well done.
Cochlear allows people to hear and be heard. And what that means is that they're able to connect with people in their lives.
Emily, watch me fly.
We live in a hearing world. We live in a world where most people communicate by speaking.
Is that a good drink?
He has access to that, which otherwise he wouldn't have had. It's that full participation with the family and in life that we really enjoy, that he just is fully engaged with the world.
Tesla's building innovative vehicles to improve people's lives now and for future generations.
I'm really excited about the future of software because the sky's the limit. Software really lets you change the world.
We got a life back that we never thought we'd have.
Let there be no question that software is changing the world, that we're changing the world. I'm Jay Simons, I'm the president of Atlassian. It is my distinct thrill to welcome you to Summit 2013. It is also my honor to thank you, because we would not be a company without you. This event wouldn't exist without you, so thank you very much. Advancing humanity through the power of software is a really important point, because teams everywhere are changing the world. That was just a brief example. You know, my two favorite moments as an Atlassian both involved when my daughter connected with what we did, what Atlassian does. For the longest time, I think she thought we just made t-shirts. And you know, the first moment was when she learned that Minecraft uses Jira as its public issue tracker. It was a very proud day. She went to school and told everybody. Somehow that got corrupted into my dad makes Minecraft, and then for a while, all her friends called me Notch. And even after I corrected that, she was still proud. But the second moment was when I showed her that video. And at the end of it, she simply turned to me and said, "Wow." And she's right. There's so much to celebrate in that video. Robots, learning a second language, electric cars, helping a child hear for the very first time. It's incredible what software has the potential to do. But the part that you didn't see in that video, to me, is one of the most important parts of the video. It's one very magical word: teams. See, it took teams to create that innovation through software. Teams like yours, companies like yours, and people like us. We shouldn't underestimate the power that software has to change the world around us. And if you look around, it's everywhere. Nest is a wonderful young company that's helping us build smarter homes through internet-connected devices. They're beginning with the home thermostat that learns how to heat and cool our homes economically. They're next going to take on the smoke detector. And if they can only stop those things from beeping interminably and unpredictably, they would deserve to win the Nobel Prize. Am I right? Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Go Nest. You've heard a lot about Tesla, in part because of what they're doing for the planet, but they're also changing the idea of what a car is. Even the idea of a car as a software product. When the S-Class first shipped to drivers, it didn't work like a normal automatic car. When you took your foot off the brake, the car rolled backwards. And drivers in San Francisco especially, who know a thing or two about hills, weren't happy with that. When they took their foot off the brake, the car rolled backwards. It wasn't a great thing. So they let Tesla know. And Tesla fixed that problem in a way that no other car company on the planet can, through software. Overnight, they shipped an update to the car,
And the next day, when drivers took their foot off the brake, Tesla introduced a creep mode that's now turned on by default, which kept the car stationary on a hill. It's an incredible innovation through software. Most of us remember this very magical moment when the team at NASA landed the Curiosity rover on the planet's surface of Mars. This is a triumphant moment of engineering, of human ingenuity, of software, but also of teamwork. This is the team at NASA that did it. When I showed this slide to my daughter, she turned to me and said, "Why are they all smiling?" And I said, "Well, they just shipped." And they shipped with, and this is the look of a team that shipped with no Sev 1s. And then she said, "What's a Sev 1?" And I said, "Go look at your bedroom." But this innovation isn't just happening at companies like Cochlear and Tesla and Nest and NASA. It's happening at hundreds of companies all over the world, like Apple, like Amazon.com, like Macy's. Hundreds of companies just like yours, by teams just like yours. These are your companies. These are but 100 of the 800 companies that are here with us at Summit 2013, all working to advance humanity through the power of software. And again, thank you. We started Atlassian with a very simple idea to help unlock the potential in teams, to help teams work better. And we are very lucky to count 30,000 companies worldwide as customers in 135 countries. And you've trusted us with a very important mission to help teams reach their potential and help teams work better together, which is why the theme of this year's summit is Inside the Team. Because teamwork is very, very difficult, especially with software development, in large part because the modern software team is such an interesting and diverse collection of people. Developers and designers, quality engineers, product and program managers, support and operations, business stakeholders, all working together to take an idea from concept all the way through to launch and bring that idea to life through software. And that brings us to this event and the purpose of this event, Inside the Team. You're here in part because you're using our software to help your teams achieve incredible results and to change the world. And we've worked really hard over the past year to bring some amazing innovation to your teams and to your companies. It's my distinct pleasure to bring to the stage our two co-founders and co-CEOs who are going to walk through a number of the big highlights. We're going to begin with Scott Farquhar, who's going to talk about innovations that we're bringing to your software teams. He'll be followed by Mike Cannon-Brookes, who's going to talk about innovations we're introducing to every team. So with that, let's get started. Let's get on with the show. Give a round Summit 2013 welcome to our co-founder and co-CEO, Scott Farquhar.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Summit 2013. It's never been a more magical time to be in the software industry, is it? It's never been a more magical time to be building software. And Jay's right, it's all about teams. And I'm really excited because what we're going to show you today is going to change the way that your teams work together to make truly great software. But first, let me define what I mean by a team. Right? Software development isn't just the developers and the testers that are involved in making the high-quality code. It's not just the product managers, the usability experts, and the designers that are so crucial to making the lust-worthy software that's in demand these days. No, software development starts and ends with the customer. It starts with customer feedback and ends with shipping software in your customer's hands. It involves everyone in between. It involves the sales and the marketing teams that get customer feedback at the start of the process. It goes through your product managers, your business analysts, to the people who code and test, your release engineers, your DevOps people, your support teams that get it in the hands of customers. And finally, it's your marketing and sales teams that really kind of find more customers to give it to. All of these people are involved in software development. In fact, software development is a whole of company effort. And the biggest issue you face, the biggest obstacle standing between you and creating truly great software, is to get all these specialists, all these groups of people together to act as one team with one goal, which is making great software. And it's not happening any slower these days. Gone are the days of 12 months, waterfall release cycles. These days you need to be releasing faster, not just because your competitors are, but because you need customer feedback. The customer feedback that makes the difference between average software and truly great software. So when you have these teams of specialists who are working together at increasingly rapid pace to produce software, what does that look like? Well, you know what it looks like as an individual. You all have those days where they're free of distractions, free of friction, free of frustrations, days when you get so much work done. They're the days when you do the best work of your lives. But increasingly it's difficult to do that as a team. You get distracted by the build failure that your colleague made this morning that you have to fix up. You get frustrated trying to work out, where did this requirement come from that I'm building? Like, what was the original customer intent? Like, what am I building here? And there's friction between development and operations, trying to get code out of your hands and into your customers' hands. And so I'm excited because what we're going to show you today is how we've enabled information, how we've enabled tasks to flow seamlessly throughout your development process. I want to talk to you about 3 areas of flow. First of which is the planning flow. That's taking unstructured content like ideas, dreams, all the customer feedback that you have coming in through all the multitudes of channels into your customer organization and turning that into requirements, turning that into specifications, turning that into stories that your development team can work on. And then I want to talk about how we've improved the development flow, how developers take stories and turn them into code and ensure that code is tested and high quality. And finally, how do you get that high quality code into the hands of your customers as quickly as possible? Because it's that customer feedback you get, that frequent customer feedback that makes a difference between an average product and a great product. You can't put everything in a specification or requirement. You actually need that feedback. So let's start with planning. Planning, again, is getting those requirements and turning them into stories your developers can start with. And planning involves a lot of unstructured data. This customer feedback comes in many forms, and the best place for your product managers, your business analysts, your entire company to get together and collaborate around what a customer wants is in Confluence. And when we create a page in Confluence, we're presented with templates. And in Confluence 5.1, these templates were introduced and they're called blueprints. And blueprints are best practices that we ship with, and also that you can create internally. And these best practices help you standardize your content as you try and involve your entire company in the development process. You want a standard way of capturing and discussing customer requirements. Let me go ahead and create a product requirements specification. Here you can see that the blueprint has pre-filled a template for me. I may want to fill in the target release or the theme. I also am going to include and link to who the designer and the developers are that are going to work on this feature. And I can link content. I can link Jira epics. So I can turn this unstructured content into structured content inside Jira. And I can link this specification with a Jira epic without leaving my context. And the great part about that is I can continue on. I don't have to bounce between tools. I can continue filling out the goals. I can continue filling out all the information that I've got from my customers. Most frequently, I'll probably want to put a whole bunch of individual requirements there in a table. What the customer wants, how we're going to turn their dreams into reality, how do I break it down? And with those requirements, I can include people. I can mention people to bring them into the conversation. Here I'm going to work with Cassie Owens, and I want her feedback. You can also include the rest of your team in terms of collaboration and comments. Let's say that again. Here you can see all the team and the comments that we can bring from them, how we can involve them in the development process. I can mention people, we can link to other content inside Confluence, and lastly, I can include rich media. I can include videos and images to help flesh out this requirement. Now we've discussed the requirement, now my team has got together and we've tried to involve the support people, we've tried to get all the customer-facing teams together to collaborate, and we've decided this is what we want to build. How do I go about turning this unstructured content into something structured, into the tasks and issues that I want to complete? In the next version of Confluence, I can highlight any text and I can quote that in a comment so I can collaborate around it, or I can create a Jira issue without leaving my context. Here, again, without leaving the page, I can select the project and the issue type. It's pre-filled all that information. And also note that it is linked to the epic that I created before. Right? Epics are first-class citizens inside Confluence. And so without having to leave Confluence, I'm now starting to build a structure out in Jira. So my development and my product manager can sort of almost hand a bundle of work off to my development team. And not only is that linked through, but the status is updated. You can see here that as that issue progresses through workflow, as its status and information is updated, that information is reflected in Confluence. So as a product manager, as a business analyst, I don't need to leave my requirements document to see how the issues are progressing. But most of you probably want to create a ton of requirements. You know, a requirement turns into a whole bunch of stories. And here I can create stories from a table. Notice that the project and issue type have been remembered so that I don't have to kind of pre-fill them. This saves you a whole bunch of time when you are creating multiple requirements. This time I want to turn that into a story. Notice again it's linked to the epic, but look at the bottom of the screen. It's noticed that I'm creating these requirements in a table and suggest, hey, do I want to create all 5 of them at once? If I click that, Confluence will pre-fill it, and this saves me a huge amount of time if I want to take all my requirements and turn them into lots of stories. So here you can see, with very few clicks, I've turned a requirements document, linked it to an epic, and then linked all the stories that are associated with it without having to leave the context that I've been working in. So this gives you full traceability. It allows you to collaborate on your requirements with your team. And I just want to compare that for a moment with a Word document, which many companies are still using to collaborate, well, collaborate's probably a bad word, to build their product requirements. So a Word document's a static document, right? It's out of date pretty much as soon as it's written. It's impossible for you to collaborate around it, and it's impossible to link that through to all the requirements and downstream things you want to build on it. Whereas Confluence is a dynamic document. It's linked through. You can bring your entire team in to collaborate on your product requirement. So we've shown you best practices with blueprints. We've shown you how you can quickly create and link content, and we've shown you that there's full traceability through the entire development practice. So what does that look like from the flip side? What does it look like inside Jira? Here you can see all the Jira issues have been created without me ever having to go into this product. But say I'm a Scrum Master, say I'm someone that spends all my day inside Jira, what does it look like? Well, I can see the linked documents on the left-hand side. I can see that we've linked the mobile requirements, so when I'm completing this sprint, when I'm completing these tasks, I have traceability linked back to the document I created. Now, I may also want to link other documents without leaving my context. For example, I might want to link through the design requirements or the design guidelines that I want to work, or the architecture documents, right? Anything that my team might want to reference inside Confluence when we're building out this feature can be linked here directly. And not only have we linked epics and stories, you can also link sprints together. And this is really useful because you often have sprint kickoff meetings. When you start a sprint, you want to sit down with your team and define the goals and what's going to happen. and what you kind of want to achieve during this sprint. And then at the end of it, you want to have a sprint retrospective, where we use them a lot inside Atlassian, where you're trying to get better all the time. So here you can link your meeting minutes, your retrospectives to the sprint. So if your team was away and they didn't get to attend the meeting, they can still keep up to speed. So all those benefits we showed, all the benefits we have of best practices, creating content, all those practices are also available through Jira. So we're really excited about the way that we can take customer feedback and turn them into requirements, collaborate with your organization, and then turn those requirements into sprints and issues that you can work on. Then that turns into development tasks, into stories that need to get worked on. And I want to talk about how we're excited about the development process. Right? For us at Atlassian, that development process is about Git. And I'm really excited about Git because it's the first time that version control has ever been collaborative. I'm excited about Git because as a developer, it makes me a lot faster and more productive because I don't need to be worried about my colleagues' changes. And as a CEO who runs 300 engineers, I'm really excited about Git because it's given us a workflow that we've never been able to, a workflow that our developers have never been able to work in before, that's make them more productive, that they can produce more for our customers. And the real power in Git comes from branching. Branching allows your development team to go from working on a one-lane road to an infinitely wide freeway with nothing in the lane ahead of them. It allows you to keep your master green, so you're not caught behind broken builds that your colleagues have made. And so if branching is the answer, if branching allows everyone to move fast, why doesn't everyone do it? Well, some people are still using Subversion, and that's a little difficult. That's a limitation of the tool. But for those of you who are using Git, some of you still aren't using it to its full potential. So I want to show you today how we have brought all of our products together to make this possible. We've linked Jira, so you can take tasks in Jira, and we've linked it to Stash, which is our Git server, and then we've linked that through to SourceTree, which is our desktop Git client. So we've allowed you to go from a Jira issue to branching your code to having code running in your local desktop in 30 seconds. So to show you what that looks like, I'm going to play a quick video. Here, a developer starts the day in Jira, drags the task to in progress, and can quickly create a branch from within Jira. That takes you straight into Stash, pre-filling all the information where I can create that branch. I want to then check that branch out to my local desktop. I'm going to check out in SourceTree. And here, SourceTree has copied all the information locally and has a working copy ready for me to start coding. So with a few simple clicks in under 30 seconds, I can have a working copy ready to go. I can be branched, ready to run fast and not be interrupted by my colleagues. So that was how Jira links with Stash, which is our behind the firewall Git server. We also have, for those of you who use our on-demand offerings, we have Bitbucket, which is our hosted Git offering. And then through to SourceTree. Now, let me take you through that in a little bit more detail so you can see what happened. So a developer starts their day inside Jira. Inside Jira Agile, here are all the tasks that we created from that requirement. They drag it in progress to let the rest of their team know that they're working on it. And then, again, without leaving their context, they can instantly create a branch. And we take that information from Jira and we pre-fill it into Stash. So you don't have to fill out any form, any fields. We take all the information across. We've pre-filled the repository based on what project you're using in Jira. We know where the code should be stored. We have the concept of branch types. In fact, we're the only Git server that has this concept of branch types because you want different workflow between your bug fixes and your features. And again, it knows I'm working on a feature, so it's pre-filled that information. It knows that features get branched from master. And lastly, it's pre-filled the branch name. Now that may seem a simple detail, but when you want to branch for every single feature and every single bug that you're working on, if you want to move fast, you need to have a standardized naming system across everything that you do. So I go ahead and create that branch, and then I can check it out. I can copy the branch name and check that branch out using my command line Git tools that I maybe use already, or I can check out in SourceTree. And we're really excited by SourceTree. The reason we built a desktop client for Git is that it allows us to have this integration between our server-based tools and your desktop-based tools. SourceTree is also useful for beginners. For those of you who are new to Git, there's a bit of a learning curve, and so the graphical user interface helps out there. But also for advanced users, those people that are Git experts, complicated things like interactive rebasing is a lot simpler using a graphical client. And that's why there's over 250,000 users using SourceTree to manage their Git clients. So that was branching, and branching allows us to move fast. And I've shown you how the code isolation that we've done, how we can separate out the different streams of work allows us to move fast, how we've embedded best practices in everything that we've done, and we've made that easy because we know that there's often a best way and there's an easy way, and sometimes developers will choose the easy way over the best way, and so we make sure that we make them the same thing. The best way is the easy way. That's a development manager clapping there, I think. And lastly, we've made the whole thing simple, end to end. So there are all the benefits you get of branching. But there's no branching without merging. And in Git and a lot of Git servers, the term for merging is called a pull request. And don't think about the terminology or the name. What you should think about is that a pull request, or the point in time you want to merge, is a fantastic time to ensure code quality. Right? That's the time when you want to discuss changes. You want to have peer code review. That's the time when you want to review all the other things, review the stories and builds that you've got going, the things that are testing on that branch, to make sure it's ready to merge to master. So let me show you how, again, we've integrated all of our tools so that you can have this quality step. And while I think about quality, so before I go on, is that you may think, well, hang on, we're moving fast, we're trying to involve our entire team. Like, why is quality so important? And I found out recently for Tesla in the video, they ship firmware updates to their car over the wire, so over the air, once a month. Now, when you're releasing software once a month to a car, you don't want to brick your entire user base's car by maybe releasing some incorrect code. So I think if you're going to move fast, if you want to get frequent feedback from customers, it's more important than ever to focus on code quality. So this starts back in SourceTree. And from here, I've been committing all along, again, not being interrupted or being worried about any of my colleagues' build failures. And then I can click this Create Pull Request button, and all the information is pre-filled and goes directly into Stash. And Stash has filled out everything I need to complete, except one thing at the bottom. Stash allows me to choose the reviewers, right? And we're a big believer in peer code review at Atlassian. There's a whole bunch of academic surveys that prove that peer code review is by far the #1 way to ensure code quality. And we at Atlassian have seen the huge benefits of our teams working together. Code review is a great way for your teams to build knowledge, right? So your junior developers to get up to speed, but it's also great for, when you have that one architect that has this sort of tribal knowledge, and you can include them in certain changes that need to be reviewed. Stash will actually suggest reviewers based on the code that I am committing. So it looks through the code and it checks all the people that have interacted with that code before and suggests reviewers. So I'll go ahead and choose 2 of the reviewers that Stash has suggested. This is what a pull request looks like once it's created. It's quite complicated, but what I want to draw your attention to is this box on the right-hand side, because that's where we bring together all the aspects of quality. And let me take you through them one by one. This is the point in time when you want to do your peer code review, and Stash provides a best-in-class web-based code review tool. That code review tool has all the collaborative features. So you can bring your team in, you can comment, you can mention people, You can decide you can add reviewers if you want to bring someone else into the conversation. It's also a moment in time when I can review the builds that we have. And though I haven't mentioned it before, the moment in time that I created a branch, our continuous integration server Bamboo automatically created a build for us. And so whilst I've been coding, whilst I've been committing, though I haven't been interrupting anyone else with my changes, I've been getting notifications from the build server about whether my code changes are successful or not. And so it's no surprise to me here that I see that my build is green. And most importantly, before I commit this code back, I want to know that it's fixed the bug or the feature request that it was supposed to. Because as we know, it's all about customers and getting things in the hand of customers. So we want to make sure that we're actually doing the task that we were told. Without leaving context in Stash, we can progress the issue through different workflows. So you could resolve the issue here or assign it to a QA person for the next step. And this entire process is all governed by a series of permissions that allow you to work in the way your teams want to. Whether you're a 10-person startup or you're a highly regulated industry like Cochlear for healthcare, you can set these permissions up however you want so you can have the right people review and merge the code. And when everything's ready, when we've assured quality, when we're sure we're not going to brick the car, we can merge the pull request. And so pull requests are the simplest way to ensure code quality across your entire team. And code quality that you need to, the code quality you need to have when you're moving fast. It's got peer code review. I can't emphasize enough how important the peer code review is part of the quality process. How we can bring all the other quality checks together, and how you can set it up to work the way you want to. So that's all the benefits of pull requests. When we're all ready, we've got the level of quality, we can merge that in. And lastly, because I've been doing everything on a branch, we've ensured that the main line of development remains green. So we're really excited by the stuff we've changed in development, how we can make tasks flow much quicker through the development process, how using Git and branching allows our teams to run a lot faster. And the last thing I want to talk to you about today is how you get that software in the hands of your customers. Because it's no good having software sitting on a shelf gathering dust. It's only valuable when it's in the hand of your customers so they can give you feedback. So when you think about your software development process, when you think about how frequently you release, do you measure your releases in terms of releases per year? Or do you measure it in terms of releases per week? Companies like Facebook have seen the benefits or reaped the benefits of continuous feedback. So Facebook have releasing frequently, and that frequent customer feedback have enabled them to leapfrog all of their competitors and become the world's #1 social network. And you may think that is only for, fast growth web startups, but Cochlear, though they are in a regulated industry and they have to be very careful because they're building, devices that work with people, they actually release on a monthly basis to a subset of their beta customers because they value the customer feedback they get so highly. And we at Atlassian have also noticed the benefits of moving from our quarterly behind the firewall release cycle, and we now release once a week to our on-demand customers. And all of these companies have invested millions of dollars to build out this continuous deployment and continuous release processes. And what we've done is we've taken all their best practices and everything that we've learned internally and built Bamboo deployments. So what do I mean by a deployment? A deployment is the process of taking built code, taking those artifacts out of Bamboo or your continuous integration server, packaging them up, and getting them into the hands of your customers, usually via deploying to an environment. You deploy to a QA or a staging environment, and then finally you deploy to production. And how does this work today? Well, typically you have two teams. You have your development team and your operations team, and they sort of speak the same language. Maybe sort of like Portuguese and Spanish. Like they kind of sound the same, but there's a little bit lost in translation. And what happens is there's a lack of traceability. There's a lack of visibility about what happens, right? So the operations people are always wondering, what am I deploying? Is what I'm deploying going to break things? How big is this change? And your development team are trying to work out, well, where's my change? Is it in production yet? Can I find it? Can I test it out? It's a very human process, right? And therefore it involves bottlenecks. Often there's one or two people that have the special incantations or the correct SSH keys to deploy your software to its server. And the human process always has room for error. There's always a room for someone to press the wrong button or someone to not run the scripts in the right order. And that always means that deploying is a nervous process. So here's how we're tackling the problem with Bamboo deployments. Bamboo deployments allow you to get full traceability across everything that you do in your software development process and see what happens and how it ends up in a deployment. So you can see all the commits that have happened since you last deployed. You can ensure, as an operations person, you can ensure that all these commits aren't going to break my deployment and that they're fit to go out to the customer. Now, commits are good, but what really matters is what you're delivering to your customers. So you can also see all the issues that have been completed in this deployment. You can't go fast without controlling your environments, and environments allow you to have repeatability in your process. You want to ensure that the way you deployed to QA last week is the way you're going to be deploying to QA this week. You want to see that the way you deploy to QA is the way you deploy to production, because often they change and very slowly over time, and then suddenly you're worried, hey, it worked in QA, but will it work when I push it to my customers? And lastly, there's a whole permission system around this. So it ensures that you can set up your process the way you want to. We at Atlassian set it up so that all of our developers can push to QA and staging environments, but only our release manager can push it to production. And like all of Atlassian's products, we have the permission system set up so that you can run it, your development process, however you want to. And these deployments are available directly inside Jira. So as a product manager, as a business analyst, if I want to see where this issue is at, if I want to verify what work has been done on it, again, because not everything can be captured in a requirement, you can click through and you can see where this issue has been deployed to. I can test it out in the QA environment, or I can check what it looks like in production with real-world data. So that was Bamboo deployments. For those of you that have Bamboo already, you got it for free, already shipping. And for those of you who don't yet use Bamboo, I'd suggest that you download it and check it out, because connecting your builds to your deployments is a critical part in the process of getting software to your customers. And finally, it's not just about getting bits on a server, right? It's not enough to push your release onto a FTP server, onto your website, or deploy it. There's actually entire teams involved downstream in that last mile. Your marketing team needs to do sales training, needs to communicate to customers, needs to do their external promotions. And even for those of you who don't ship software beyond your teams, who just ship software internally, your support teams need to prep documentation. Your operations team need to manage their on-call schedules and generally prepare for a release. And of course, all the work those teams do, all those teams who are getting things from customer to customer, all need full visibility on the development process. So though their work happens at the end, it doesn't just start the day the development team cuts the release. They need full visibility. They need to see the deployments. They need to understand what is happening in the release cycle. I know our marketing team needs to know when things are deployed to QA so they can take screenshots and get prepared for a release. So what your team needs is a single connected view of all the activities across your entire development process, across all the teams that are involved in building truly great software. And so that's why we created Confluence Team Calendars. Now, Team Calendars is an add-on available from Atlassian through our marketplace. that solves the problem of visualizing the flow of activities across your entire organization. It's an organized and coordinated view of all the date-driven events across your development process. So it pulls information from Jira, it pulls information from Bamboo, and visualizes that so your teams can be on the same page. You can also combine that with other activity that's more human-orientated. You can include leave, travel, conferences, anything that you need to schedule around or schedule with. It gives you a consolidated view across all those events. So this is a great way, if you're not using Confluence Team Calendars, to visualize everything that happens across your entire development team. So that takes us through the entire development process. Now, you wouldn't normally see this level of detail in a Keynote. You wouldn't normally see kind of this level of traceability and linking of products together. But I just wanted to show you today because we are so proud and passionate about making every last step of your development workflows productive. We're so proud of how the fact that our tools can bring other areas of your company that aren't maybe currently connected or currently involved in your development process and get them involved in the process of making software. So when is this all shipping? The integration between Confluence and Jira, that's coming before Christmas. And everything else I showed you today is available and shipping already. And those are just some of the hundreds of integrations we have across all of our products that allow information and tasks to flow from your customer through all your customer-facing teams and all the way through until you ship code to your customer. And so while you think of our products potentially as best-of-breed individual solutions, think of them also as a way to connect all of your development team together. So I ask of you that please go back to your offices, look at all the products of Atlassian you're currently using and see how you can use them better together. But also think of the products you're not yet using and how they can be used in your development flow, how they can help you bring your customers and your entire team into the development process, and how they can help you ship software faster. There's never been a more magical time for us all to be in the software industry, and I'm really excited that I get to be a part of helping you all build great software. Thank you.
Awesome. What do you guys think so far? Yeah? So we got a little tiny interlude. That's a bit of a cultural thing for us at Atlassian. Most days at 3 o'clock, this funky song comes on, and we do stretch o'clock. If you haven't heard about this. So we thought, sort of like a 7th inning stretch in the keynote, we would have everybody stand up with us. Stand up. Yeah, that's the way. And Atlassians, come on out here for a second. There's some Atlassians that are going to come up, and we're just going to do a really simple version of Atlassian stretch o'clock. Follow along. There's some Atlassians. Okay, cue the music. Here we go. I'm gonna lead you through it. Don't worry. Okay, ready? Stand up straight and look to the left. Look to the left. Look to the left. You guys aren't looking to the left.
Look to the right.
The other way. Look to the right. Look to the right. No one's looking to the right.
Now look to the
sky. Look to the sky. Look to the sky. This is good for you, I promise. Now look to the ground. Look to the ground. Look to the ground.
Look to the ground.
Now put your hands up. Okay, that's it. That's it. All right. Good job. All right, sit back down. That's it. Thanks, guys. Totally quirky, but believe me, you'll feel better for the next half hour. So Scott just walked us through some incredible innovation that we're bringing to your software teams. Now it's my pleasure to welcome our co-founder and co-CEO, Mike Cannon-Brookes, to talk about some new innovations that we're bringing to other teams in your business. So a round of applause for Mike Cannon-Brookes.
How you doing, everyone? Feel more warmed up now? just while I get my slides up here, I wanted to say personally thank you to everybody for being here, for making all the amazing things that you create, all the software that you create, and for letting us build such an amazing company, giving us all the feedback, etc. I'm very much looking forward to spending as much time as I can with as many of you as possible over the next couple of days. Now, Scott showed you some amazing things that we're doing for development teams, how we're trying to empower them to connect better together and to ship software and move faster at scale. We want to go further. We want to help more teams in your organization to do amazing things. We want to help every team. 3 of our products, Hipchat, Confluence, and Jira, are already used by all sorts of teams inside your organizations. They're fast becoming platforms in their own right, in which all manner of work is done by marketing teams, finance teams, HR teams, and beyond. So in this section, I'm going to have a little fun. I'm going to talk to you about 3 new products that we are releasing today, built on top of these 3 great platforms that empower all sorts of teams in your organizations to do amazing things. So first, I want to start with Hipchat. Now, Hipchat joined the Atlassian family about 18 months ago, and it's been a hell of a ride. Last year at Summit, the #1 thing we heard from you with Hipchat was that you wanted better native client access. So over the last 12 months, we've delivered 7 new applications with which to access Hipchat. So we've now got native applications no matter what platform members of your team are using, whether they be Mac, Linux, and Windows in native applications for the desktop, whether they be using the web, or any of the mobile devices on iOS, Android, or of course their iPad. We've updated and rewritten almost all of these applications in the last 12 months. So that was the first thing you asked us for 12 months ago. Now, Hipchat's a SaaS application. And the second thing you asked us for is, what about me who has to run software behind my firewall? It's always been a hallmark of Atlassian that we support whatever deployment options you want. And we're going to bring that to Hipchat today. So we're announcing Hipchat Server. Takes the best of Hipchat and puts it in a box that you can deploy behind the firewall. So what do you get in Hipchat Server? You get the standard setup in minute experience that Atlassian has, and this covers upgrades as well. So when Hipchat improves, you'll see those upgrades stream down to your system behind the firewall. You get all of the integrations we have. So more than 50 integrations with all the Atlassian systems, and also with all sorts of other third-party systems available on the web. And of course, you get full access to the REST API of Hipchat, so you can take notifications from anything you want that's sending messages around your organization, be it build servers or commit messages, or server down, system administration type messages. You can send that to Hipchat using the custom APIs, have it turn up in a room or to an individual now. And of course, you get all 7 of those applications. So you can use Hipchat no matter where you are inside your organization, on a mobile device, on a web, or on a desktop client. But we haven't just taken Hipchat and put it into a box. We've built a series of enterprise controls because we understand how enterprises want software to work behind the firewall. We've added a series of security features. Obviously, running behind your firewall, you get to control the network access, you get to control all sorts of things around the boundaries of Hipchat. But we've added a series of privacy controls, for example, for shared files. So when you share a file in Hipchat Server, you can control who can access it, what level of permissions they need to have. We've added a series of data control features to Hipchat Server. So again, because it runs behind the firewall on your own network, you get to control the database, where the chat logs live, where the files that are shared sit. But we've also added controls around things like chat retention. So if you have privacy policies about how long you can retain data, you can use Hipchat Server to match the retention policies of Hipchat and the communication that happens within your team with your organization's policies. And thirdly, we've added a series of user management features specifically for Hipchat Server. So you can connect and use the same users you use with Jira or Confluence and instantly get them into Hipchat Server. And we've also added a series of features around bulk user management and profile privacy and restrictions depending on where you are, your geographic or company privacy policies. So that's Hipchat server. It's in beta today, and I very much look forward to your feedback and getting Hipchat to be not just our on-demand customer base, but also to all of our behind-the-firewall customers who want to use Hipchat as their communication tool of choice, want to connect all of the teams they have, and connect Hipchat into their other applications in Jira, Confluence, and the rest of the Atlassian stack. Now, when we talk about Hipchat, and we talk about connecting every team, I was trying to find some numbers to indicate just how much communication is going on in Hipchat. And I couldn't find a better number than looking at the number of messages that have been sent. Last month, in fact, I think 4 days ago, we passed 1 billion messages sent through Hipchat. Now that's a hell of a big number. That's an awful lot of communication going on between members of your teams. And it's not just development teams, it's members of every team in your organization that's sending that content. Now it took the Telegraph, I'm told, 75 years to send 1 billion messages. It took Hipchat 2.5. Now, the Telegraph, probably not remembered by some of you in the audience there. I know myself, it's been a while since I've used a Telegraph. So I tried to find a more Atlassian way of explaining this gigantic number. So let me try this one. So it took us 6 months in Hipchat to send the first 1 million messages. And we've just passed 1 billion. It took us 6 months to send the first 1 million. Now, between this keynote, we'll send another 1 million messages before you guys have a beer this evening. Before the party tonight, we'll send 1 million messages through Hipchat. In fact, before the party tonight, we'll send 2 million messages, almost 2 million messages. 6 months to send the first 1 million, 2 million between now and we have a drink together. So Hipchat is really empowering a massive amount of communication amongst teams all around the globe. And that communication, distributed teams, people all over the planet. That communication is text messages flowing between colleagues. It's servers and systems sending notification messages to channels and to teams to tell them status, update them, let them know things have happened. It's people sending around files, and of course, it's people sending around all manner of images, one of Hipchat's strongest features. But today we want to take that one step further. Images tell a part of the story, but we wanted to start sending around moving images. So today I'm happy to announce the launch of Hipchat Video. Now video is really hard to show you, so we're going to do a little bit of a high wire act here, and apologies in advance if this completely fails. And we're going to try to actually do a Hipchat video call from the stage and show you a little bit about how you might use Hipchat video within your organizations. So let's cut to the phone. We've got a little demo station running here. We've got Wi-Fi gods, we've got networking gods, we have all sorts of things that need to come through to make this happen. So let's see. Oh, well, we've got Pete up, so that's the first stage. For those of you who haven't seen Hipchat on the mobile, obviously I can select Pete. Now, let me get rid of this. I can check Pete is there, and I can have my normal textual conversation as I would with Pete. IMing him, talking to different colleagues that I have. Pete, luckily, is on the other end. That means we have network and Wi-Fi is working. Now, if I open up the sidebar here, the one thing you'll notice that's new is we now have a little video camera icon. So I can simply hit that and start a video call with Pete. Again, I'm using my iOS device. Pete is back at the office. Apologies for the lighting up here, it's a little bit bright. Pete is coming on his end. Come on, Wi-Fi. Hey!
Hey, mate.
All right. How you doing, Pete?
I'm good, how are you?
We have audio and everything.
Awesome.
So I'm talking to Pete. Pete's on his desktop in the office. You saw it took me 2 clicks to get to him from a text chat to up-level that to video. So Pete, how many of you guys took BART to get here today? Handful? San Franciscans, it's a unique experience, us as San Franciscans, about taking BART. So Peter, you had some ads that you wanted to show me for our new campaign we're going to be running in BART stations.
Yep, one sec.
So this is one of our ads. It's why you want to use Hipchat. You can use it on your phone. You can have a video conversation from Bart. Oh, Pete, I forgot to tell you I'm a little busy. I'm in the middle of the keynote, so I can flip around the camera and everyone have a wave to Pete. Hi, Pete.
Hey guys.
Probably wants to see, well, a little bit of me with all these lights. Get to work without the commute and without all that smell. Well, I've taken Bart, I can understand that. Maybe give me one more. I like that. That espouses all the best of Hipchat. All right, Pete, thanks. I better get back to the keynote, but thank you very much. Oh, and you can see that all of your notifications, system messages, etc., will come right over the video so you don't get disrupted. And even while I'm on the video, I can switch to somebody else and chat, and I can go back to my video. So I can keep this running. Audio will keep going in the background if I want to chat with other rooms. We've integrated all the best features of Hipchat. So thanks for that, Pete. You want to give us a wave?
Sure. All right. See you guys.
See you, Pete. All right. If you can tell, I've loosened up. That worked as well as could have been expected. So that's a little demonstration of Hipchat video. What you didn't notice is that Pete on his end was using a web browser. I was using my iOS device, he was using a web browser. Hipchat video is coming to every client that we support. Desktop clients, web clients, and mobile clients. So no matter where your team is or what platform they're using, they can communicate in all manner of different ways. So what Pete saw on his end was the web browser. He was able to click and bring up a video window and have a conversation. He was able to hit the button at the top, choose which application or window he wanted to share that window. And on my end, I get a voice call from Pete. If he was calling me, I called him in that case. I can choose whether I want video or audio. Works just the same way on the phone. Again, I can see his slides. I can choose portrait, landscape, etc. And I get the notifications coming in over the top of the video or the files that are being shared, whatever presentation I'm watching. So Hipchat video is really going to change the way that people use Hipchat. It's really going to change how a whole lot of teams around the world, a whole lot of teams in your organizations communicate. Now you can have distributed teams or teams in a single building using all manner of different applications, whatever platform they choose, whether they're on the bus, sitting in an office at a desktop, etc. They can share the normal textual messages that Hipchat excels at. They can get system notifications. They can move to audio calls. So just for one-on-one, if you need to have a phone call through Hipchat, no matter where you are, or indeed a group audio call. Imagine you have a room full of system administrators or servers down and you say, we need to have a conference call right now. Don't need to set up a dial-in number, you don't need to do any of that. You can start an audio call with everybody in a room in one click, no matter what client they are or where they are. Video calls, same deal. I can take a one-on-one textual conversation, up-level it to video anytime I want, or I can take a room full of people. Maybe it's a distributed development team and I want to do a visual stand-up. I can do that using Hipchat no matter where people are, whether they have pants on, whether they're on the bus, etc. And then I can take screens and share those again. I can share them one-on-one if I want to say to somebody, hey, I'm working on something, let me show you a design. Instead of having to take a screenshot, save it to the desktop, paste it in, send it to Hipchat, I can just show them the screen. They can help work with me, I can move things around, they'll see that. And I can broadcast that again to multiple participants. If I'm showing a presentation or doing a meeting within my organization, again, 2 or 3 clicks from Hipchat and I can send it out to a whole room full of people. So we're incredibly excited about Hipchat video and what it means for transforming the way that all of your teams communicate. It also is in beta today. You can sign up at this URL and we'll be letting people in slowly as we build the capacity underneath Hipchat video. We want to make sure you have a good experience. Worked on stage, that's stage 1, step 1 of making that work. We'll be taking people one by one as they sign up. So that's the first of our announcements, Hipchat server and Hipchat video, changing the way your teams all over the organization communicate, no matter where they are and what application they want to use. So the second big announcement on top of Confluence. So how many of us have asked the internet a question? Something like this, maybe. Oh, it's on that side, sorry. So we've all asked the internet various different questions, right? One of the reasons the web is such a powerful resource is all of the knowledge it contains and how it connects us with all of that knowledge very quickly. Now, Quora has really demonstrated the power of question and answer communities, the power of that tribal knowledge of connecting topical experts with people who want to understand that knowledge. And I know personally, I use it to find a lot of information, and when I do, I inevitably get sucked into an hour of reading through more and more and more interesting information based on who wrote what answer they did to something else, and I move through. It gives me a host of insights about various different topics. Now, Q&A communities are very popular, obviously, in the programming world. There's a lot of benefit for development teams. And indeed, even in our world. If you've been a member of the Atlassian community for a while, you remember about 18 months ago we moved from a forum-style community site to a Q&A-style community site in Atlassian Answers. And it's been incredibly successful. We now have more than 90% of questions that are asked being answered, and indeed the average time to get the first answer is now, I believe, about 50 minutes. So less than an hour to get an answer on Atlassian Answers. Now, these work really well in the public internet scenario where you have a large community. But how do you ask questions like this at work? You probably use email, or maybe use something like Hipchat. Now, these are wonderful tools for the right purpose. But for asking questions and getting answers, they often fall short. They fall short for a number of reasons. First, they're usually one-on-one communication. So that gets trapped in a communication between me and between you. When someone else wants to ask the same question, they ask it again. So I get repetitive questions. It's often hard to search for those answers because they're locked in their one-on-one communication. And secondly, asking multiple questions creates disruption for everyone else on the team. So we want to solve that knowledge-sharing problem within every team in your organization. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Confluence does a bit of that, and it does. Confluence solves a lot of the knowledge-sharing problem, and it does it very, very well. It's the best way if you have knowledge, if you have information, and you want to share that out to a team of people, writing it into a Confluence page or a Confluence blog is an excellent way to do that. But it requires you to have all of the information up front. A lot of times in an organizational scenario, you know what you want to know, but you don't know the information yet. But you also know there's a lot of smart people around your organization that do know the answer. You want to be able to ask them and get back that answer. And that's why today we're introducing Confluence Questions. It's an entirely new application for Q&A style communities inside an enterprise, taking the best of our knowledge of running a large Q&A community online, using all of the public communities, and the knowledge of what enterprises want, how we connect their teams, and indeed how Atlassian works internally. It's built entirely on the Confluence platform. Now let me show you 3 areas that Confluence Questions helps your team. I want to start with extracting tribal knowledge. So there's a whole series of types of questions that get asked in enterprises, from social questions, like I'm moving to a different city in the organization, what ISP should I go with, to technical questions like I've installed this font, what do I do next? And the problem is, when you're a very small organization or a very small tribe, it's easy to know who to ask that questions. I've got a technical question, I ask the system administrator. I know who that is. As my tribe grows, as my organization gets bigger, it becomes harder and harder to know exactly who I should ask. I know there are people out there that have the right information, but I don't know how to get to them and I don't know how to ask them. So how do I do that? This is the problem that Confluence Question aims to solve. So let's have a look at simply how to ask questions. One of the things with Confluence can be the search experience often ends in a dead end. Now we've heavily improved search in the last few releases, so it's not our search technology. It's often that the people who have that knowledge in your organization haven't written it down yet. They still have it, they just haven't written it down yet. So if you search, you get to a dead end, and then you're not sure what to do next. Well, as an example step with Confluence Questions, you now get a box that says, if you haven't got the answer you're looking for, maybe you want to ask a question. And if you click that, you can very simply ask a question. Now again, the asking interface is based on all the best technology that's within the Confluence platform. So you get access to the full editor. Your questions and indeed answers can involve images, tables, you get autocomplete, you can mention other people, all of the things that come in the Confluence editor. Macros, all of the extensibility and plugins, all works seamlessly in Confluence Questions. And obviously when I've asked that question, the organization will start answering. So in this case, I want to understand how I can use agile methodologies in a different team. Alana will come in and give one answer, and then hopefully the rest of my organization will come in and answer it too. Confluence Questions helps pull them in and say, you have this knowledge, someone's asking a question. Once we've got a series of answers, the rest of the organization will come in and crowdsource. So they'll say, that's a good answer, that's an okay answer, that's the best answer. And then Confluence Questions, again, will reorder those questions and indeed nominate which one of them is the best. Questioner can approve a given answer. What that lets us do is have crowdsourced knowledge of all of the people in my organization come together and a very clear indication of what the best answer to this question is, be it a technical question or a non-technical question. The next person that comes along will be able to very easily see what the answer is. So what Confluence Questions has done has helped connect the people with questions with the people with answers around the organization. It's helped turn a big organization into a much smaller one in terms of finding the knowledge that I need to get my job done. If that's all it did, it would already be pretty good. But we wanted to go quite a bit further than that. So the second thing is, how do I retain knowledge in my organization? It's a big problem. I know for us it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem as we get larger and natural organizational things start to happen. What do I mean by retaining knowledge? Well, it's quite a natural stage. Again, my two friends here who've answered the question, they've provided some of that knowledge. They've written it down into Confluence Questions. Now, there's a chance that they might leave the organization at some stage. When they walk out the door, they take their brains with them. They take a whole lot of knowledge, tribal knowledge they've learned about how everything works. When they leave, the knowledge stays if you're using Confluence Questions. It stays in their place. It doesn't disappear when they walk out of the door. And then when new people join my organization, as they are wont to do, and they probably have their own questions, indeed they're probably asking the same questions that other people have asked previously. Now they can find that information because it's been documented online without having to lose the tribe as they leave. So how can they find it? Well, a whole host of different ways. Give you a couple of examples. Here you see the popular stream on the Confluence dashboard. Again, I can now find questions and indeed answers in that popular stream, mixed in with pages and blogs and all the other good stuff that Confluence gives you. I can find it through QuickNav. So if I'm typing ahead, I know what I have. A couple of characters I can get to any question or any answer. We have a whole series of macros that you can place within pages to find that content. Now in this case, you can see a frequently asked questions page. Very common in Confluence. A lot of people write a FAQ. But this is a very interesting fact because it's half explicitly written by a single author and half crowdsourced. So the top section was written by someone who said, I have some knowledge, I know what people attending Summit are probably going to want to know. And the bottom section down here is a series of macros that have pulled in that content from Confluence Questions, and indeed other macros that are able to answer questions that will end up in this FAQ. So you can create a dynamic FAQ from your organization very, very easily and embed a whole lot of information from Confluence Questions into other pages. And of course, our search experience from earlier, now that we've asked the question, we no longer get a dead end, and obviously I can search for Confluence Questions very easily. Lesson being, new people to the organization no longer have to disturb other folks or ask the same question twice. They can find those answers that have already been given. That knowledge doesn't leave the building when people leave. And thirdly, once we've got all of this knowledge together, what can we do? What can we learn about the people we have in our organization? We've built a whole series of expert identification features into Confluence Questions. So what you'll start to notice, and indeed what we've seen at Atlassian since we've been running Confluence Questions, is all of these connections emerging between people. Start to get more and more and more. Confluence Questions starts to have more and more of the knowledge that's in everybody in your organization's heads, and it starts to look a little bit like an organizational brain. It starts to have all of this knowledge come together. Now we want to show you a way not just of looking at the knowledge, the questions and the answers and the content, but flipping that around and looking at the people in the company. We want to be able to group those people together and show you what topics they're interested in, what they're good at. So I can find all the people, for example, that are both passionate and knowledgeable about build engineering. Hopefully a lot of them are on the build engineering team, but if I'm looking to grow that team and expand it and I see these three other guys are really answering a lot of build engineering questions, they have a lot of knowledge in this area, those are probably the guys I want to recruit onto my team if I'm running build engineering. We take those people that have been grouped and organized, and then we nominate experts. So we tell the organization that this is the best person at answering Android questions. Or if you've got a legal question, you're best to go to this person over here. Once we've got those subject matter experts, we can do all sorts of interesting things. In this case, you can see the topic experts for a given topic. Oop. Oop. We're going way too fast now. What happened here? Apologies. All right. You can also search for people. Let's stop there. I won't touch anything. So you can also search for people. So rather than searching for content, I can say, I want to find the people in my organization that are expert at both Agile and events. How do I find those people? Well, again, you saw everyone else blended away, and I just found the one person that's an expert at Agile and events. Maybe I'm running an event, I want to send people from my organization. Once I've found those people, I can go and look at those individuals. Here I look at a single individual, and I can see their expertise profile. I can see all of the topics, all of the questions that they've answered, that they've asked, all rolls up together so I can see what this individual person is good at. It becomes a bit of a skill map of this individual, and if you zoom out to the whole organization, you get a very interesting view about who has skills. If you're looking to recruit an Android team, for example, put them together, you may have a lot of developers that write a lot of other code, and you say, geez, we need an Android app, we better get on that. Who in our organization knows about Android? How do you answer that question? Confluence Question aims to help you find those topical experts within your company. Oop. Oop. So it lets you do those three things. Extracting the tribal knowledge that exists in all of the very smart people that you spend a lot of time and energy recruiting. Help you retain the knowledge when people leave, and indeed, not disrupt new teams when new people join and they want to ask the same question again. And it helps you identify experts, group people together, find tribes that share common interests, and again, look at the individual skills and profiles of people within the organization. Now, those typical questions that I showed you beforehand, I showed you these questions for a reason, and that reason is they're all real bona fide questions that were asked inside Atlassian by employees of other employees. So Anna's moving to Sydney from, I think from San Francisco, and she wanted to just know what ISP she should go with in Sydney. It's a good question to ask your colleagues. That information now lives on our internal systems. So the next person who has that, who moves to Sydney, we do a lot of moves between Sydney and San Francisco, they have 12 different answers, lots of different opinions given, people voting them up and down whether they agreed and didn't agree. If you look at Sarah, who wanted to install the custom icon font and ran into some trouble. She's in the marketing team up here in San Francisco. She got 3 different answers from the design team about different ways to do that, and a preferred best way nominated. So the next person who has to install the icon font searches Confluence for icon font. They'll find this question and answer, and they'll be able to install it very easily. So that's Confluence Questions. It's in beta today, and it's going to be coming to both on-demand and, of course, behind the firewall. Builds on top of the Confluence platform, and I think it will do amazing things in terms of connecting your communities, connecting all the teams that you have, and helping them share and retain that organizational knowledge that's so important. Thank you. So lastly, we've saved the best for last. Those two are both incredibly awesome, and I'm looking forward to both of them coming out, but this is a small personal favorite of mine. And I'll tell you why it's a personal favorite. So we have a lot of amazing tools to help development teams. And we help a lot of your teams, and indeed a lot of our teams, to really kick ass when they're going and building amazing things. But there's one team that sits behind the development team that if they don't do a good job, it doesn't matter how good our tools are, the dev team's probably going to struggle. And that's the IT team. So today we're introducing our first product dedicated to helping IT teams around the world, not strictly for development teams. Now the IT team at Atlassian, as we've grown, is definitely one of the hardest working teams we have. They're the first person in the office in the morning, and they're often the last guys to leave at night. They have all sorts of dependencies from us 700 plus employees around the world in 7 different locations. These guys are always run off their feet, and I'm sure your IT teams are exactly the same in your organizations. They sit at their desk a lot of the time, they're running around, they have a lot of work to do, and if they don't do their jobs, then your development team gets held up, gets stopped. So today we're introducing a product directly for IT teams, and we call it Jira Service Desk. All right. And we have a very simple goal with Jira Service Desk. We want to build an amazing service desk, but quite simply, we want to help your IT team to go home a little bit earlier in the day. So that's what we're going to do. Now, IT teams have some, what might seem on the surface, pretty simple goals. They want to quickly see what's important to them. They want to track their commitments to the business. They have contracts. They're a service delivery team. And they want to continuously improve. Just like development teams, and they share this in common. They want to be able to get metrics and analysis so they can improve their own work. They want to improve themselves. Very few IT tools give them that. So let's have a look at some of the features of Jira Service Desk and how it's going to help send your IT teams home earlier. Firstly, let's look at queues. Now, Jira has a pretty amazing search interface. It can let you find the needle in a haystack. It can let you pinpoint issues very rapidly from around an ever-increasing issue base that you have. It's great for development teams. It's great for doing triage. It doesn't really work for IT teams very well. They try to make it work, and I see 3 people in the front nodding there. That's excellent. They're nodding when I said it doesn't work for IT teams, so I'm about to solve your problem, don't worry. It doesn't really work for IT teams because they have a different flow of work than what a development team has. So we're introducing an entirely new interface in Jira Service Desk for IT teams. So this is what queues look like. The reason IT teams have queues is they do flow-based work. They have more issues coming in all the time, and they have to get to those and move them through. But they don't operate in a FIFO queue. They don't operate in a first in, first out sense. They have all sorts of different reasons and priorities about where things would appear in that queue. The other thing a queue gives them is it gives them a consistent view of those incoming requests across the team. One of the things that slows IT teams down is when everyone's working on different things, and it's very hard to work out what's the next priority for a given team. So you can have different queues for different parts of your organization. Maybe desktop support has a different queue to systems down, and people know who's on which queue. Those queues are, of course, dynamically updated. Dynamically updated. There we go. In real time, because IT, again, it's flow-based work, there's new things coming in constantly. What you notice is that new issue jumped in right at the top of the queue because of the rules I've set up about how this particular queue gets organized and how this work that's flowing in gets prioritized. So queues are really good for IT teams to be able to see a very custom interface into what it is exactly that they want to be working on. The most important part of Jira Service Desk is the SLAs, or Service Level Agreement Support. And we've built truly world-class SLA support into Jira Service Desk. Why are SLAs important for IT teams? Well, quite simply, 2 things. One, it's a definition of their contract with the business. It's them saying to the business, I'm going to get back to this type of issue in this amount of time. But it's also their way of tracking how they're going. How long it takes them to get back is one of the really important ingredients in helping them continuously improve. So what you may have seen if you looked at that queue-based interface is this unusual looking control on the right here, on the left, sorry. And that is our Sla Visualisation Control. And it's a great example of how deeply we've thought about the service desk problem for the IT team. So let me drill into this control as an example of our commitment to IT and how much we thought about the problems that they face. So when I bring this control up, it shows you an awful lot of information at a very, very visual and easy to grok level. So it shows me the time remaining until I breach a particular SLA. And it also shows me things like, is that time moving or not? Is it on or is it off? Why do I want that? Well, a lot of SLAs are to do with how much time it spends with the IT team. But once I've given the information back to the customer, the timer gets paused. It's on their side now, and I don't need to worry about my SLA moving. The queues will take care of ordering that automatically. It allows you to very visually see if I'm well away from breaching my SLA, if I'm getting closer to it, if stuff's getting a little bit too close and maybe I should really prioritize this issue and that's what I should be working on next. And of course, occasionally, if you're missing your SLA and you're a little bit behind, the red very visually pulls it up in the queue so you can say, right, I need to get on this. Of course, once I've finished that issue, I can see if it overall missed a given SLA or if it hit. And those SLAs are not just in the queue interface, you can also see them on the view issue screen. So when the IT team is looking at an individual issue, they can very, very quickly and easily, it's the thing that pops out of the page immediately as to where that issue is at for those given contracts they have with the business. Again, I said we've thought very deeply about the IT problem. It's why issues can't just have one SLA, they can have multiple SLAs. Why would you want multiple SLAs? Well, you often in IT want to track various different things about the service levels you're giving to the business. So in this case, very simply, classically, I have a time to the first response, and I have a separate SLA for the overall response time of the issue, no matter how much time it's spent with me or with the customer. And those multiple SLAs for the issue, each SLA can have its own time remaining, the amount of time allocated to that SLA. So that agreement has different time for different issues. Why do I want that? Well, if I have a blocker, for example, I might want that to have a 2-hour SLA. Now, this is a great example of where we bring the power of the Jira platform to work underneath the application that is Jira Service Desk. Because, of course, I use the Jira query language, or JQL, to define SLAs. So in this case, when I've set up this SLA, I've said, if the issue is a blocker, I'm going to give it a 2-hour SLA. The time is 2 hours. If another issue comes in that was only a major priority, it's not quite a system down issue, I can change that to say it's an 8-hour SLA. So I have an incredibly powerful system in JQL to enable me to set up all my different SLAs. So if I look at a third issue here, it's a trivial issue. Unfortunately, it was reported by my boss. So I'm going to make that SLA 1 hour because he really likes it when I get back to his stuff really quickly. Also shows off the power of JQL in terms of extensibility. This group function is obviously using extensible functions that JQL has. So we bring all of the power of the Atlassian marketplace to play in setting up very custom SLAs. Now, all of this flexibility and power is great for IT teams, but they're running really quickly through their day, which is exactly why we want that all to melt away. Once it's set up, we want it all to melt away into this very simple queue interface. And you're back to the start where you just see that SLA control. Huge amount of power. We've done a deep dive into all the different things it can do. And then we've come back and it's very easy for them to work out what is the most important work I should be doing. Not the most urgent work, not what came in most recently, but based on all the SLAs I've set up, what's on top of my queue. Now, in combination with those SLAs, we've built a world-class reporting engine into Jira Service Desk. Because IT teams traditionally haven't had great reporting engines to take SLAs and all the metrics they're generating and be able to track their work. So they want to know things like how the team has performed. Again, I can see the number of issues coming in this case, and particularly if it's dropped. Now, something's probably happened to make my workload halve. Either we've laid off half of our employees, or we've done something to help them, not have to ask so many issues. What about meeting our SLA targets? Again, there was a report that showed you we met our SLA targets. You can go to the deep dive session and see all sorts of information about the reporting. It truly allows the different teams in your IT organization to be able to track how they're going, how they're comparing against other IT teams you may have, and again, help them self-improve by tracking the SLAs and the metrics against their reports. Much like an agile development team, for example, can improve by tracking its velocity over time. We're trying to bring that philosophy to IT teams. And all of that is built into Jira Service Desk. Sorry, my clicker is going mad here. Oop, no. Hang on. Nothing like having Keynote fails in front of 1,700 people. Can I get another clicker? Sorry, I'm not touching anything. It's just moving forward. This clicker is against me today. Oh, look at Daniel. Thanks. So that's all built on the power of the Jira platform. Now, why do you want that? When we talk to IT teams that are already using Jira to do service desk style work, what they tell us is the reason they're using it, even though it has, the issue nav doesn't work as well as the queues for them, et cetera, and we're fixing a whole lot of those problems, is because of the power of Jira itself. It's not a good day to be me. All right, come on. Yeah, someone talk to the IT team here. SLA on getting me a clicker was very quick. All right, I'm going to be extremely cautious about what I wasn't touching it. This is all going off the rails. Now it doesn't want to move at all. Next. All right. So built on top of the Jira platform, what do you get? Well, you get all the things that you guys are probably very familiar with in Jira. You get fields and the industry-leading workflow engine, which allows the IT teams to really map their processes and their work into Jira Service Desk. You get access to the marketplace, all of the add-ons and extensibility, a whole lot of add-ons that already work with Jira, work out of the box with Jira Service Desk. And obviously, Jira Service Desk itself has a series of extension points that a marketplace can then build even further on top of that. And you get permissions, notifications, you get all the user management and people that you have in your organization, roles and groups, all the things that you already have set up in Jira instantly get work in Jira Service Desk. Now, if that was all we'd done, we would have pleased a lot of IT teams around the world. But and we've been working on this problem for quite a while, when we talk to our IT team and we talk to a whole lot of customers' IT teams, this problem is a little more nuanced than just solving these problems of the IT team. It's a lot more complicated than even development teams. And that's because this team can't be successful without one other group being very happy, and that is, of course, the customer. The customer has a very different set of needs when it comes to a service desk than the IT team. The customer really, they just want to get back to their job. That's their simple number one need. I want to go back to what I'm doing. I don't want to spend a lot of time filing service requests. And the more difficult you make it for them to file service requests, the more they'll try and find ways around the system. You know, they'll send an email, or they'll just come to your desk. And all of those interruptions are what cost the IT team time. It makes them harder for them to prioritize, to set their queues correctly, and to manage their work. So this is why the service desk problem is very complicated in terms of its nuance. These two teams need to work together very harmoniously for the overall experience to be a success. And again, one of the challenges is they talk in very different languages. So if we look at the customer, for example, they'll ask things like, I need a new computer. Simple English seems like a simple request to them. What the IT team needs to say is, we have an asset acquisition request that requires purchasing, etc. They have a whole lot of words and language they need to get their jobs done effectively, and we have to translate between these two sets of language. So let me show you how we've done that. The first feature in Jira Service Desk, specifically built for the customers, is the customer portal. Let's meet Ryan. Ryan is our customer. Sorry, I always forget the slides over here. This is Ryan. Ryan's our typical end user. He's a customer. And Ryan has a problem. He can't access our intranet. Very common sort of IT problem that would happen in a large organization. So let's have a look how Ryan will actually create that request. Doesn't have to go to Jira, doesn't have to go to the create issue screen. Needs the IT team's help. As do I today, apparently. And he comes into Jira Service Desk. So he gets a very specific customer portal interface. And you'll notice he doesn't get asked to create issues. He gets asked very simple things in his language about what he wants to do. Does he want to request new software? Does he want to get help from IT? Change a system? In this case, he's going to report a system problem. He has a problem with doing things. And again, the form is entirely in plain English, built in his language to enable him to fill it out as quickly as possible. Once he creates this, he moves into a different interface, which you'll see is very, very simplified to let the customers do exactly what they want. You can see it's waiting for support. You can see the status of the issue. The IT team comes back, asks him for some more information. He can tell very easily it's waiting on him now. It's in his court to solve. He has two functions he can do. He can add comments, and he can attach files. And that's all he needs to do. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't need all of the power and flexibility of Jira. He doesn't want all of the view issue interface. He just wants to get his job done and go back to the other things that he has to do. So we've made it very simple, and again, very easily see what's resolved, see all of your tickets. I think you get the idea. Highly simplified interface for the customer that's configured for the IT team to speak in the customer's language. So what Ryan has done is created an issue in his language, and he's used the customer portal to get it to the IT team in their language. Let's have a look at how that breaks down on the two sides. So Ryan has asked, again, he wants to get access to a system. The IT team gets to map all of that to a series of issue types, obviously, and a series of pre-filled fields. So requesting hardware and requesting software can both be a purchase request issue type with different fields filled in with different values already. Ryan's managed to fill in those fields, but he didn't have to think about, a whole series of different fields. Of course, those fields, Ryan gets them in plain English, language he understands. IT team gets them on their end in language they understand. All the power of the Jira field and workflow system, Ryan gets a very simplified interface. What about workflow? Ryan, he just wants to know one thing. Are they working on it? The IT team, they can have as complicated and powerful a workflow as they want. We map the workflow statuses between the two. So the IT team can say, right, it's a purchase request, I've got to go get approval, it's been approved, the hardware's been delivered. They can have all the workflow stages they want to track their jobs efficiently, and Ryan just needs to know one thing. It's waiting on support. They're on it, they're working on it. So that's the customer portal. There's one more thing that we might improve even further in this customer portal. And that's if Ryan didn't actually need to bother the IT team at all. What if he didn't even need to raise this request? So that's where the second feature we built for customers comes in, which is the knowledge base built on top of Jira Service Desk. So how does that work? Well, let's have a look at Ryan, or in this case, maybe it's Ryan's colleague who comes in, maybe it's Ryan as well, who asks pretty much the exact same question. Comes in, he has a problem with the intranet, and he can't log in either. Now this time what you'll notice we've turned on the knowledge base is he gets access to all of the knowledge information that we've set up. And with a single click, he can read about problems, workarounds, and hopefully self-serve his request. He now doesn't need to even hit submit. He doesn't need to file this request with the IT team, and therefore they get less work and they can spend more time on the other issues they have. Now what's going on behind the scenes to make this happen? Well, we're bringing all of the power of the Atlassian toolset to help the IT team. So the one thing I didn't show you here on the view issue interface was this little button here, there, to let you create a knowledge base article immediately from any issue. So what this lets the IT team do is take Ryan's original issue, say other people might have this problem, click once and bring up a dialog, pre-fill a whole lot of information depending on what fields they have set up, what they want to put into their knowledge base article, and jump into Confluence and create a knowledge base entry. Very similar to what Scott showed you with some of the features we're building for development teams to integrate between all of our different applications. Now in Confluence, we built a full knowledge base, both space blueprint, which is new in Confluence 5.3, so blueprints to set up entire spaces, and then a series of page blueprints inside the knowledge base for typical types of articles that you would find in a knowledge base. Ryan gets the simplified customer portal. One click, he gets to see that article. The IT team gets integration between our tools very seamlessly, and they get the full power of Confluence and the new Confluence knowledge base. But they can get that to their teams very easily, to their end users. It's a great example of the best practices that we're trying to bring. The same philosophy Scott talked about with taking a Jira issue and creating a branch, taking a Confluence page and turning that seamlessly into a series of requirements that live in Jira Agile. We're not just bringing these philosophies of integrating our products and helping your teams to flow through best practices. We're not just bringing these to our existing products, we're bringing them to our new products. In this place, Jira Service Desk and the Confluence knowledge base. So that's an example of Jira Service Desk and how it helps both customers speak in their language through the portal and the knowledge base, and it helps IT teams with a highly customized interface built on top of all the power in the Jira platform to help them get home a little earlier. And you can see our IT man has now gone home, hopefully enjoying the rest of his day, and the sun is still up. It's not nighttime. So I'm incredibly excited about Jira Service Desk, and it's by far the most mature product that we have ever released. It's shipping today, both on demand and behind the firewall. When I say it's the most mature product we've ever released, I really mean that. We've thought about this problem very deeply. We've been working on it for a long while, and indeed we have actual customers running on this today in their organizations at quite large scale. I'm going to end by leaving you with a video of comments from those actual customers, which is going to explain in much better, in their terms, in IT, how Jira Service Desk is changing their lives. So before I leave with the video, I just want to say thank you very much. I want to spend as much time talking to you guys as possible over the next 2.5 days. I will lose my voice at some point. Please come talk to me as early as I can. But thank you very much for coming. Thanks for spending so much time. Thanks for putting your faith in Atlassian. And I'll leave you with a little bit from our customers on Jira Service Desk.
We're always looking for ways of making the end user experience faster and easier.
Jira Service Desk integrates all customizations we made in other portals, so it can be a good tool for centralized administration.
Our favorite features of Jira Service Desk is definitely the SLA and the fact that simple interface for end users, while keeping the backend flexible with a full Jira experience. We feel that end users should have the least number of clicks to issue a ticket, and the streamlined approach that Atlassian has with its service desk product is actually very interesting for us.
My name is Aaron Jones, and I'm the manager of engineering systems and tools at Good Technology. Good provides secure mobility solutions that enable users and business leaders to pursue bolder strategies where security and mobility are not an either-or proposition. Jira Service Desk is helping us to deliver on our vision by making our customers' lives easier. Its simplified portal makes it so easy for them to ask questions of us that are relevant to them and to us. Additionally, Jira Service Desk's SLA and reporting is making things so much more visible, both to our management and to us, helping us both to report on and find issues that are not meeting those metrics. In addition to the SLA metrics, which are increasing our visibility, both with my management and with my customers, it's also having a tremendous effect on our ability to deliver. The best part is that my senior VP recently came to me and said, "Wow, the tools team is on fire." That's just a great feeling. Thank you, Jira Service Desk.
All right, huh? So, over 100 integrations across our products to improve dev flow. Hipchat that you can install on your own servers behind your firewall. Hipchat video and audio. Confluence Questions, Jira Service Desk. You guys excited? Huh? Yeah, let's hear it. We're excited. So I'm going to go through just a couple of quick housekeeping tips and then send you out on your break. And like all good Atlassian teams, I think we're going to ship ahead of schedule a little bit. So this is basically everything you want to know about Atlassian, but you might be afraid to ask. The most important thing you have in your possession, which is this trusty passport to all things Summit. Most of what I'll cover in here very briefly is in this book, so read it. Not everything is, though, so I'll cover a few little secrets. One thing that's very important in this book is the shuttle schedule. And so most of you probably took shuttles from your hotels that run every 30 minutes and go to a bunch of different locations. There are also shuttles that we'll take to the party tonight, which I'll cover in a second. So keep track of that. The other very important thing is food. And this little page is a pull-out meal ticket for the food trucks that are parked on the left. So if you lose this, you'll have to come ask us, I think, for another one, but don't lose it. And you'll tear off the ticket, and you'll use that ticket for meals at the food trucks. So that's a very important item. The other thing that's in here is there's a page on Exploring Summit. It's a whole bunch of stuff that we've basically planted around the building that we think you'll enjoy. A couple to highlight. There's something that we call the Guru Speed Sessions, which is an opportunity for you to schedule time to connect with our product and design teams on some of the things that we're working on in the future. So if you want a sneak peek at some things that we have behind the curtains, schedule some time to spend at the Guru Speed Sessions. The other thing that we'd like to hopefully engage you with is something that we call the Customer Listening Lounge. And there's a little video booth that we'd ask you to kind of go into and share one really good experience and one bad experience. There are only internal videos that we use within Atlassian to improve your experience overall. And so it'll be helpful to us if you kind of park yourself and say, here's a good thing and a bad thing that you'd like to share with Atlassians just internally. We couldn't do this event without sponsors. They're very important to us. Our ecosystem, our partners are a huge part of our business and the business that we're building with you. So we'd like to thank them. You can help us thank them by meeting them. They're all here today in booths parked outside of the pavilion. So please visit these companies at the demo alley. We'd like to thank our silver sponsors. There's a whole host of them with booths and staff, and they've worked really hard to, I think, bring you a number of exciting announcements of their own. So please see them. And finally, our gold sponsors. Again, to sponsors, thank you. Round of applause. We could not put on this event without you. The next 2 days is packed with content. And so we won't come back into this room until the very end of the conference. And that's for a good reason, because a lot of the breakout sessions are just ripe with a whole bunch of good content and good experiences that both we and our customers and our partners will share together with you. Remember, the theme is inside the team. We've broken this down into 5 color-coded tracks. All of the big rooms are color-coded to match this in your guidebook. So you can go to the inside dev team that will largely focus on software development teams and much of the content that Scott covered. Inside Atlassian is a track that we dedicate to things that we do, how we use our products, some of the processes that our own dev teams and design and product teams work through. Inside the ecosystem is about the add-on and plug-in vendors that are building a bunch of capability and features and products that sit on top of our platform. Inside the massive team is largely about very large-scale enterprise deployments and things that we've done and are doing to support large customers. Inside team collaboration is about the unstructured collaboration capabilities and products like Hipchat and Confluence. So much of the content that Mike covered will be focused there. There's a lot to go through, but there's a couple of sessions that I wanted to just draw your attention to in case you're interested in diving deeper on some of the things that we covered during the keynote. As you know, we have State of the Unions. We call them State of the Unions. We can't cover up on stage here all of the things that we've done over the past year across all of our products. And so there's a lot of gold to mine in the State of the Unions. The State of the Unions are led by the group product managers for each of our products. So if you want to dive deep on Confluence, deep on Jira, deep on our development tools, definitely go to the State of the Unions. We also have a special State of the Union called New Markets, where we'll cover Service Desk because we hadn't yet announced it until this morning. And there's a session called Atlassian Q&A In and Out that is on Thursday at 3:30 or 3 o'clock that will focus on Confluence Questions and some of our experiences with Q&A. On the front of your books, there's a little symbol with the name of a Greek mythological figure. You have all been appointed to one of 5 teams for this game that we call Summit Smackdown. Atlassian is a bunch of competitive bunches. I'm on Team Hermes, which will win. Yeah, Team Hermes. So the point of this is mostly to make engagement fun. And so you can collect a bunch of points along the way. There are a couple of prizes. One prize is the scoreboard outside will keep a current running tally of which team is in the lead. The current winning team at mealtime gets in a special express line to all the food trucks. That's a big deal. And then there's a prize for the final winning team at the very end of the event for all the members that are participating. If you are an alumni, you have a designation of an alumni, and we're very grateful to those of you that come back again and again at Summit. You win 3 times the number of points for all the activities. And again, you get an activity by checking into booths and meeting with partners and sponsors out in the pavilion. We also have four folks that have been with us for all 5 of our summits. From VeriSign, Marvel, Sony PlayStation, and the University of California at Berkeley. We are very grateful for them. They earn 5 points for everything that they do. So you want them on your team. So Summit Smackdown. We have a big party plan tonight at 7 o'clock. Again, there are shuttles that will take all of us from here to the City View at Metreon. It's also walking distance. It's not the greatest part of San Francisco to walk through, but it is walkable. But it is at City View at Metreon tonight from 7 to 11. It'll be a lot of fun, so please come. Most of you know that you have a shirt that looks like this handsome guy on the left. All of Atlassians are wearing this shirt. And so where you see somebody with this shirt, they work for Atlassian, please stop them and ask them whatever question you have on your mind. If you see them from the rear, they have things that they know a lot about written on their backs. So you'll see, I'm a Bitbucket expert, I'm a Hipchat expert, I'm a Bamboo expert, so you can tap them on the shoulder and ask them about products that aren't printed on their backs, see how they do. If you like this experience, like we work really hard at trying to build community with all of you customers, or all of you as our customers, because you matter so much to what we do. We have a very robust user group program globally, and this is a way for all of you to connect with each other and connect back with us on things that you're doing with our products. There are user groups in 33 countries globally in over 130 cities. Another very important badge or distinction on some of the badges is user group leader. There are 34 user group leaders that are here with us at Summit. If you don't have a user group in your city, or you'd like to start one, or you want to talk to a user group leader, please stop them, because again, they're an important part of recreating this experience throughout the year. There's a user group that meets every 3 days, I believe. We have a swag store in the back. It's just at the stairs at the landing. So if you want to buy funky Atlassian t-shirts and swag and stuff, it's all on sale. And you can also go to swag.atlassian.com and get it. Pete Curley, who you saw on the Hipchat video demo, is a designer and product manager for Hipchat, one of the original founders for Hipchat. If you're using Hipchat, you know that there are all these funny little emoticons that you can put inside of the Hipchat application. Pete is actually donating some free emoticon creation time at Summit. So if there's any emoticon you would like him to create, he will be parked with an artist's easel and Photoshop. And you can go to him and say, I want this emoticon. It's got to be PG-13 or less. But Wednesday from 12 to 2 or 3 to 5 and Thursday from 9 to 11, he will be there right across from the swag store. Of course, we want you to share your experiences throughout the event. You earn points by tweeting hashtag Summit13 and hashtag Greek mythological figure team name. So do that a bunch. And of course, there will be photos and stuff on our Facebook page. And finally, we will come back here at 3:45 on Thursday, for those of you that are hardy enough to stay to the end, and we will conduct a live Ship It. So Ship It is a quarterly innovation exercise that Atlassian does. It used to be called FedEx Days, until FedEx kindly asked us to change the name, because when you Googled FedEx and day, Atlassian was the first result. And so we changed it a while ago to Ship It, and it is a really important part of our culture. We run Ship It days basically every quarter. This is a live reenactment of a Ship It day. We'll talk a little bit about what you do in them, and then give you just a taste of what it's like. Hopefully it's something that you can bring back to your companies. And of course, at Ship It Days, beer is served. So at 3:45, back here in this main room, we'll toast a drink and watch some pretty cool Ship It projects. Finally, I want to thank all the Atlassians. There's a ton of Atlassians that have worked really hard to pull this event together and to bring a lot of good content, a lot of great products, and a lot of innovations to your teams. And we couldn't do this without them. So thank you to all the Atlassians that have pulled this together. And once again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you to our customers. We couldn't do this without you. Go enjoy a great show. Thanks very much.